First of all, when your voice is potent and it's gonna go viral,
right,
and it's gonna resonate, and they think it's gonna compromise their brand, that's what they're gonna do.
This is exactly what I said to him. I don't want to talk to you no more. You can't talk to me about it.
Stephen A. Smith went on the Podcast P show recently.
Cap.
So Stephen A. Smith got exposed for lying about the face of the NBA. And this comes 2 weeks after the last time he lied about another player in the NBA. So before we get to the content, we're running a huge cash giveaway on Instagram and Snapchat. All you have to do to enter is just follow me on Instagram and Snapchat, and I'm gonna pick followers at random. I wanted to do code giveaways, but we really struggle to do code giveaways for Madden, so I don't want to repeat my same mistake when NBA 2K24 comes out. So we're just gonna do cash instead. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. This is pretty much free money. We only need to correctly pick 2 squares to 3x our money on PrizePicks. And to celebrate the NFL season kicking off, PrizePicks is giving us a free square. All Dak Prescott needs is 1 passing yard in order to fulfill his square. So you combine that with Travis Kelce, who only needs 1 receiving touchdown, and in my opinion, this is a guaranteed win in our books. I don't care if you're the biggest Cowboy hater on earth, Dak Prescott will get 1 passing yard. And we all know Travis Kelce is definitely going to get 1 receiving touchdown. And if you haven't signed up for PrizePicks yet, you could match your initial deposit by using my promo code microphone when you sign up. That's promo code microphone when you sign up for PrizePicks, or just click on the link in the description down below. And thank you, PrizePicks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? I need to give you guys a disclaimer before this video begins, because every time I make a video discussing one of the mainstream sports analysts in the game, for some reason it's perceived as if I'm hating on them. So I want it to be unequivocally clear that if it wasn't for the greats like Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless, Dan Patrick, Shannon Sharp, I would never be influenced to do what I do currently as a full-time job. And no matter what critique I have or commentary I have on any of those human beings, I have tremendous respect for their achievements and what they continue to do for the world of sports analysis today. With that being said, nobody's perfect, myself included. And recently, we started to get a look at Stephen A. Smith's imperfections. Now, in the past, I've praised Stephen A. Smith. I think his podcast is brilliant. I think it gives us a completely new look at a different side of Stephen A. Smith. And I always said what makes a content creator great, as opposed to just average, is if they're able to comment on something that you don't agree on and you'd still watch their content anyway. If they're not pandering to the masses, for instance. That, in my opinion, also is what makes them a great content creator. And Stephen A. Smith has been doing that on his podcast. We've used his commentary on why Disney isn't doing so well as an example of this.
You've got folks on other side of the ideology that galvanize and speak out against such positions, and how do they exact revenge? By affecting your bottom line.
But again, that doesn't mean this man is perfect. And historically, whenever it's come to him having to bring us inside information, his sources range from sketchy to potentially non-existent. And the best example of this was none other than in the case of Lonzo Ball. The last time we made a video on this topic, Stephen A. Smith said this about Lonzo Ball.
And it's really sad what happened to him. Those are doctors. Something went wrong. I don't think he'll ever be the same based off of what we're seeing and hearing and reading about. I've heard it's even hard for him to get up from the sitting position.
Lonzo Ball clapped back in the most comical way he possibly could, not only showing a video of him standing up and sitting down and calling out Stephen A. Smith, but even doing it on one leg so he could apply as much pressure onto his injured knee as he possibly can to say, hey, look at me. I am in such good health that I could put pressure on my injured knee and still sit down and stand up. How did Stephen A. Smith take this? Well, at this point, it's a battle of pride. Stephen A. Smith would fire back at Lonzo Ball saying this.
You really gonna sit poolside on the bench and think because you getting up and sitting down that makes you healthy? Come on, bro. Come on now.
And then when he appeared on Shannon Sharp's podcast, Club Shay Shay, he said this.
First of all, when your voice is potent and it's gonna go viral,
right,
and it's gonna resonate, and they think it's gonna compromise their brand, that's what they're gonna do.
At the end of the day, you can make arguments for both sides. You can say Lonzo Ball's camp is trying to make it seem like his knee injury is less of a big deal than it actually is. Because if you come out and continue to say that Lonzo Ball's knee injury is a big deal, maybe it's going to jeopardize his NBA career. If anything, his career is currently in jeopardy. You don't want to fan the flames on this. At the same time, you can make an argument that Stephen A. Smith is generating some sensationalized headline just for the sake of driving in clicks. So it's up to you who you want to trust here. But what I will say is, it doesn't seem like this is the first time or the only time that Stephen A. Smith kind of stretched the truth here. I mean, hell, one day earlier, Stephen A. Smith made an incorrect call in regards to Stefon Diggs, saying that Stefon Diggs wants out of the Buffalo Bills. And it resulted in Stefon Diggs saying he wants to retire in Buffalo.
You don't want to retire a Buffalo Bill?
100%, sir.
In addition to tweeting out, 100% not true, I don't know who the source is, but I thought I nipped this shit in the bud already. Props to Stefon Diggs for doing that. And now we have a brand new incident in this trial of Stephen A. Smith. Because Stephen A. Smith recently made an appearance on Paul George's podcast. It's called Podcast P. In this podcast, he gave us a grandiose tale about an exchange that he had with Rich Paul. Now, for those of you guys that don't know who Rich Paul is one of the most dominant agents in the NBA who got his foot in the door from being childhood friends with LeBron James. He has always been part of LeBron James's entourage, and as a result, he is one of the most powerful agents, if not the most powerful agent, in the entire NBA. So therefore, whenever it comes to the GOAT debate, obviously Rich Paul is going to be vouching for his childhood friend LeBron James as opposed to Michael Jordan. And you could say Michael Jordan's the GOAT, you could say LeBron James is the GOAT. They both have very legitimate arguments going for them. But in this case, obviously LeBron James's best friend is going to say that Michael Jordan is the GOAT. Well, I mean, I guess it's not so obvious because Michael Jordan's perceived best friend, Scottie Pippen, said this.
But in terms of statistics, LeBron is right there. And when you look across the board, not just scoring, he's probably ahead of Jordan.
So as a result, Stephen A. Smith told us this great story about an exchange that he had with Rich Paul. And this is how it went.
And I said to Mr. Chirper himself, Rich Paul, my boy, and I said, you act like that's an insult. This dude, it is an insult. I said, get the fuck out of my face. Get the fuck out of my face. This is exactly what I said to him. I don't want to talk to you no more. You can't talk to me about it. When you gonna treat me like I'm disrespecting a man by calling him in the history of the game that started in 1947, you gonna tell me that I am disrespecting a man by having him number 2 all the time. You have lost your damn mind. I'm not talking to you.
Now, this is quite a tale. I mean, it sounds very intense.
Get the fuck out of my face.
What Rich Paul said in anger that Stephen A. Smith would question who's the true greatest of all time, especially because he has a personal tie in this debate. His best friend is involved in this debate.
How dare you call LeBron James number 2?
Well, here's the thing. Rich Paul would make an appearance on Gilbert Arenas' podcast, No Chill Gil. Awesome name, by the way. And on this podcast, they asked him straight up. They played the clip for him.
Stephen A. Smith went on the Podcast P show recently.
Cap.
I want to make it abundantly clear. The original clip for this content, which was on Gil's Arena Show's X account, said, Cap. Rich Paul responds to Stephen A. Smith's comments on Podcast P with Paul George. Now, of course, there's wonderful news outlets on Twitter that do the dirty work for us, get all the information for us on one Twitter page so we don't have to jump from Twitter page to Twitter page to Twitter page. Kind of like what I do on this channel, more or less. What's important about this is this one headline resulted in Legion Hoops saying Rich Paul calls cap on Stephen A. Smith's recent comments. Shout out to Legion Hoops, good friend of the channel. But that wouldn't be the only instance. Josiah Johnson, did Stephen A. Smith really tell you get the out my face, Rich Paul cap? Now, why am I bringing this up consistently? Well, watch the actual clip. Watch how Rich Paul describes what went down.
One more time.
Come on, man. Anybody in the world know me, he's not gonna say that to me. First of all.
Watch Rich Paul tell the story. Does it seem like this story happened or not?
I'm gonna add context to it, because, you know, Stephen A., that's my guy. We have cordial conversation, but I'm not, you know, I can debate all day long. No such thing as get the my face, no. Now you can say, oh man, get out of here. Let's just add context for the viewers, right? Okay, fine. Okay, so we move on.
In my opinion, it seems like the story happened. So why are people calling cap? Well, they're calling cap to a particular part on the story, not on the whole story. The part that was cap is by far the biggest eye roll ever. And it's a huge reason why I made this video, because it's crazy how much news outlets could spin this stuff. The part that Rich Paul was calling cap on is the end. Watch.
No such thing as get the out my face. No. Now you can say, oh man, get out of here. Let's just add context for the viewers, right? Okay, fine. Okay, so we move on.
Rich Paul is calling cap on the fact that he didn't tell Stephen A. Smith to get the out of his face. He probably said, get out of here or something of that sort. But we all characterize that type of emotion in our heads in one particular way or another. Some people say, get out of here. Some people are a little bit more aggressive, like get the out of my face. Or famously in succession when they say this, F off! I figured it was important for me to make this video of Stephen A. Smith once again getting exposed, just to highlight the importance of actually watching the whole clip. Because if you just read the headline, you'd say, oh my God, Stephen A. Smith is lying once again. In this particular instance, it seems like the story actually happened. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.